What if I told you that right now, as your air conditioner runs, a quarter of every dollar you are spending on cooling is disappearing into your attic, not cooling your bedroom, not cooling your living room, leaking out through tiny gaps in your ductwork and pumping directly into a space that can reach 160 degrees on a hot summer day, and the fix costs $13. Now, before I tell you exactly what that fix is, I need to explain something about what is happening inside your walls every single time your system runs. Because once you understand it, the hot room in your house is going to make complete sense for the very first time. And you are going to wonder why nobody ever explained this to you before. By the end of this video, you are going to understand 3 things: why that room is hot, and why it is almost never actually the air conditioner's fault. What the $13 fix is, exactly what to buy, and step by step how to use it yourself. And something about your air quality that nobody in the HVAC industry ever brings up. Something that reframes this from an energy problem into something much more personal. Every house has that one room, the master bedroom at the far end of the hall, the second floor corner room that gets afternoon sun, the home office where someone sits all day sweating in front of a fan wondering why the rest of the house feels perfectly fine. You have probably called someone about it, maybe more than once. A technician comes out, checks the refrigerant, looks at the thermostat, shrugs, and hands you a quote for something that costs several $1,000s. You write the check. The room is still hot. Here is what nobody told you, and here is what that technician almost certainly knew, but had no financial reason to mention. The problem is almost never the air conditioner. The problem is the ductwork, and the ductwork is leaking. Here is what is actually happening inside your home every time the system runs. Your HVAC system pressurizes the ducts and pushes conditioned air toward every room. But ducts are not perfectly sealed. They are assembled from sections of metal and flexible tubing, connected at joints, wrapped in insulation, and run through attics, crawl spaces, and wall cavities. And at every one of those connections, every joint, every boot where the duct meets, the vent, every collar where a flex duct attaches, there is the potential for a gap, a leak, a place where the air you are paying to condition escapes before it ever reaches the room. The Department of Energy has found that the average American home loses 20 to 30% of its conditioned air through duct leaks. Nearly a third of everything your air conditioner produces vanishes into spaces nobody lives in. Into attic spaces that in summer reach 140 to 160 degrees. Into wall cavities, into crawl spaces, gone. The EPA estimates that Americans spend $11 billion every year on energy that escapes through duct leakage. $11 billion every year. And the room that suffers most is always the one farthest from the air handler, because air follows the path of least resistance. When there are leaks along the way, the pressure drops. By the time the air reaches the room at the end of the run, it has lost so much volume and pressure that what comes out of the vent is barely enough to make a difference. The rooms closest to the air handler get plenty. The room at the far end gets whatever is left. That is not bad luck, that is physics. And it is happening in almost every home built before the year 2000, and in many homes built after. Now here is something that I want you to really think about, because this one genuinely surprised me. When a supply duct leaks in your attic, it is not just losing the conditioned air that escapes. That escaping air creates a drop in pressure in the room it was supposed to serve, and nature does not allow a pressure difference to just sit there. So the room pulls in replacement air from wherever it can find it, from gaps around window frames, from spaces behind electrical outlets on exterior walls, from cracks where the baseboard meets the floor. Outside air, hot, humid summer air, being pulled directly into the room that your air conditioner cannot seem to cool. Your hot room is not just losing cool air through the ducts, it is actively pulling hot air in from outside to replace it. The air conditioner is fighting a battle on 2 fronts simultaneously, and it is losing both of them because of gaps in the ductwork that nobody ever sealed. There is also something happening with your blower motor that nobody mentions. When the duct system leaks, the motor has to work harder and run longer to try to meet the thermostat setting. Longer cycles mean more wear, more heat generated inside the air handler, lower efficiency across the entire system. Research from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory found that duct leakage can reduce system efficiency by 40%. Not 5%, not 10, 40. That is almost half of your air conditioner's capability being robbed by gaps in the ductwork. And the fix costs $13. Now, if you are finding this useful, if you are thinking about your own home and starting to understand why that room has never responded the way it should, Go ahead and hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear this. And if you want to keep getting honest, practical information about your home, subscribe. New videos every single week. All right, let me tell you exactly what to buy and exactly what to do. The product is called Mastic Duct Sealant, and this is what it actually is. It is a water-based, flexible, adhesive compound specifically engineered for sealing HVAC ductwork. It looks like thick peanut butter. It goes on with a cheap paintbrush or even with a gloved finger. It stays permanently flexible after it cures, which matters because your ducts expand and contract with temperature changes every single day. This is the critical difference between mastic and duct tape, and I want to be very clear about this because it surprises almost everyone. Regular duct tape, despite having the word duct right in the name, does not work on ducts. The adhesive breaks down in the heat, it dries out, it falls off. Within 2 to 5 years, it is gone and the leak is back. This is not a theory, this is documented. This is why HVAC professionals use mastic, and it is why the joints someone sealed with duct tape 10 years ago are leaking again right now. Mastic stays. It was engineered specifically for this environment, and it has been used in commercial HVAC applications since the 1950s. It is not new technology. It has just never been properly explained to homeowners. When you go to buy it, look for a product labeled Duct Mastic or Duct Sealing Compound. Brands like Hardcast, RCD Corporation, and DuctMate all make reliable versions. Look for the letters UL181 on the label. That is a certification standard that specifically governs duct sealing products and their long-term performance. Most general hardware store tapes do not carry this rating. Mastic does. A quart costs between $10 and $15. 1 quart is typically enough to seal all the accessible duct connections in an average home. Now let me walk you through exactly where to look and exactly what to do, because this is the part that most people get wrong. They go looking in the wrong places and miss the connections that matter most. The first place to check, and this is the one almost nobody starts with, is the plenum. The plenum is the large metal box that connects directly to your furnace or air handler, the point where all the ducts originate. This connection is almost always leaking. It is the single most common source of duct loss in a typical home. And because it is sitting right next to the unit itself, people walk right past it looking for the problem somewhere else. The second place is every duct joint in the attic. If you can access your attic, go up there when the system is running, carefully in the early morning before the heat builds, and run your hand along the duct connections. You will often feel the air leaking before you even need to see the gap. Any joint where you feel air movement when the system is running is a joint that needs mastic. The third place is the boot connections. The boot is the piece of metal where the duct meets the register, the vent cover in your floor or ceiling. When you pull off a vent cover in your home, look at the gap around the edge where the boot meets the drywall or the subfloor. In older homes, that gap is almost universal. Conditioned air is leaking into the wall cavity instead of coming out into the room. This is a major source of loss, and it is almost never addressed. The fourth place is flex duct connections at both ends. Flex duct is the silver accordion-style tubing that connects rigid ductwork to the registers. It should be clamped and sealed at both the point where it meets the rigid duct and the point where it meets the boot. In many homes, it is just wrapped with duct tape at installation. That tape has failed. Run your hand along both ends of every flex duct connection you can reach. And the fifth place, and this one is the one that causes the most damage, is the return ducts. Return ducts pull air back to the air handler to be recooled. If a return duct leaks in the attic, it is pulling hot attic air directly into your system, not just losing conditioned air. Actively pulling in the hottest air in the entire house and running it through your cooling system. Returns are often larger, less insulated, and almost completely ignored. Check them carefully. Here is exactly how to apply the mastic once you have found your leaks. Turn the system off before you start. Wear gloves. Mastic is easy to wash off when it is wet, but becomes quite sticky as it dries. Wipe the duct surface with a dry rag to remove dust and debris. Adhesion on a dirty surface is significantly weaker. Apply the mastic with a cheap paintbrush or with a gloved finger. Push it into the gap first. Do not just paint over the surface. You want the sealant inside the joint, not just bridging across it. Apply it at least 1 inch beyond the joint on each side. For any gap larger than about a 1/4 inch, do what professional HVAC technicians do. Embed a piece of fiberglass mesh tape into the wet mastic. Then apply a second coat of mastic over the top of the mesh. The mesh gives the sealant something to bond to across the wider gap and prevents cracking over time. Almost no consumer video shows this step, but it is how the professionals do it. And it is the difference between a repair that lasts and one that fails in a few years. Let the mastic cure for at least 4 to 6 hours before running the system. Full cure takes 24 hours. The material will change from a gray-green color to a slightly lighter shade as it dries. That color change is your confirmation that the cure is complete. For ducts that are wrapped in insulation, which most attic ducts are, peel back the insulation jacket carefully, seal the joint underneath, let it cure, then rewrap the insulation and seal the jacket closed with foil tape. Take your time with this step. Disturbing the insulation hastily can reduce its effectiveness. Now I want to tell you something about your air quality that almost nobody in this industry ever brings up. And for a lot of people watching this, it is going to change how they think about this problem entirely. Leaky supply ducts create negative pressure in the rooms they are supposed to serve. And that negative pressure pulls replacement air in from wherever it can find an opening. That means insulation fibers from your attic, mold spores from your crawl space, dust from wall cavities that has been accumulating for decades, and in certain parts of the country, radon gas seeping up from the soil below. All of it being pulled into your living space, into the air your family breathes every day, because the ducts were never properly sealed. Duct sealing is not just an energy efficiency project, it is an air quality project. And the $13 investment in mastic is doing 2 jobs at once: lowering your energy bill and improving the air coming out of every vent in your home. Let me also tell you something about new homes, because a lot of people assume this is only a problem in older houses, and that assumption is wrong. New construction, HVAC installs are done under time pressure. Crews are moving fast. Duct connections are often assembled quickly and secured with a single wrap of duct tape, which, as we discussed, will fail within a few years of installation. Energy auditors who test new homes regularly find that brand new houses fail duct leakage standards by significant margins. If your home is 5, 8, even 10 years old and you have a room that has never been quite right, this may be exactly why. The tape that was holding those connections together at installation has dried out and let go, and nobody told you to go check. One last thing before the close. And this one is for people who have been dealing with a mysterious complaint that is hard to put into words. The room feels clammy. The temperature is right. The thermostat says it is cool enough, but it just does not feel cool. It feels humid. Uncomfortable in a way that is hard to describe. That is almost always a duct leak problem in a humid climate. When the ducts are leaking, the system is inadvertently pulling in humid outside air. The air conditioner is removing moisture constantly, but it is being replaced just as constantly through the leaks. The temperature looks fine. The humidity never quite gets there. Seal the ducts, and that clammy feeling that has been bothering you for years goes away. So here is my question for you, and I genuinely want to know. Have you ever pulled off a vent cover in your home and looked at what is behind it? Have you ever gone into the attic and run your hand along the duct connections while the system was running? Have you found a gap, a joint that was moving air in a direction it was not supposed to? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And I think what people find when they look for the first time is going to be very eye-opening. If this video gave you something real, a real answer, a real fix, something you can do this weekend for $13, please hit that like button. It means more than you know. And subscribe if you want to keep getting this kind of straightforward, honest information about your home. Thank you so much for watching. Stay cool, and I will see you in the next one.